Konnichiwa. Today we're going to talk about combined particles or double particles or whatever silly names the textbooks and Japanese grammar sites call them by. And I'll explain in just a moment why I'm calling them silly. What I'm referring to is particles in combinations like niwa, nimo, towa, noga, etc. And if you look at the sites, you'll find lots of rules, like you can use ni with wa and mo, but you can't use it with ga or de. You can use to with this, but not that, and so on. And you don't need to learn any of these rules. If you understand what's going on and why it's happening, it all makes complete logical sense. There are no random rules happening here. Just straightforward logic. The reason it gets so confusing in English language so-called Japanese grammar is because they are not just giving the wrong answers, they're giving the wrong answers to the wrong questions. They're posing questions that should never have been posed in the first place. There's really no such thing as a double particle or a combined particle. What's happening all the time is that the particles are just doing their job the way they always do. So what about all these random rules about when they can do it and when they can't? Well, all these are actually based in what the particles are and what they actually do. So the first distinction to make that the textbooks and websites never make is a distinction between logical and non-logical particles. This is absolutely crucial. So let's start by looking at the 5 main logical particles. These are the particles that tell us what's going on in the sentence. They mark each noun with the role it plays in the sentence, whether it's the person doing something, the thing that's being done, the thing it's being done to, the place where it's being done, etc., etc. Now, the first obvious thing to understand is that you can't combine any of these 5 logical particles with any of the others. Why not? Because of what they do. They mark each noun with its function in the sentence. A noun can't actually be more than one part of speech at the same time. So it would just make no sense at all to combine any of these 5 together with each other. But what you can combine them with is non-logical particles, notably the 2 non-logical topic markers, wa and mo. You can combine these because they don't clash logically. Wa and mo don't tell us anything about what a noun is doing in the sentence. It's only ever marking that thing as a topic, either to make it the topic of the sentence or to make it a subtopic for strategic reasons, which we'll talk about in a moment. Now, the next thing to know is that the 2 primary particles, or the primary and secondary particle, that is ga and wo, don't combine with non-logical particles. Why don't they? Well, ga is the primary particle. It has to be in every sentence of every kind. Wo is the secondary particle. It marks the direct object. This means that in any sentence that is directly transitive, wo has to be present, whether we can see it or not. Now, what do I mean by directly transitive? All the textbooks and dictionaries confuse transitivity with Japanese self-move and other move verbs. And in a way this is understandable because there's a large overlap between the 2, but they aren't the same thing. So let's look here at what we mean by actual transitivity. If I say, I walk, I sing, I eat, those are all intransitive because I'm doing the verb and I'm not doing it to anything else. It has no direct object. If I say I sing a song, or I read a book, or I eat bread, then this is transitive because the verb has a direct object. Now, when I say directly transitive, what I mean is verbs that are done directly to an object. So, for example, I can say I talk to Sakura, but in English, as you see, we have to have a preposition there. We're not saying I talk Sakura. So we're not directly transitive, we're indirectly transitive through the medium of a preposition. Now, Japanese has the same distinction. We don't say Sakura o hanasu, which would be the equivalent in English of I talk Sakura. We say Sakura to hanasu or Sakura ni hanasu. Now, please don't from this run away with the idea that particles like ni and to are the same as English prepositions. They're not. If you're going to compare them to anything in European languages, you have to compare all the logical particles to the German or Latin case structures. You may not know what those are, and you don't need to, because I model these in ways that don't require knowledge of European grammar. But the point here is that they're not prepositions, but for our purposes here, we can say that they're used under the same circumstances that prepositions get used in English. So if we say, I eat bread, that's directly transitive. If we say, I talk to Sakura, that's indirectly transitive. In Japanese, if we use the o particle, it's directly transitive. If we use another particle like to or ni, it's indirectly transitive. In some cases, English and Japanese will disagree about what is directly transitive and what's indirectly transitive, but an awful lot of the time they're in fact in agreement, because these are fairly basic factors of human communication. Now the point here is that these two direct particles, if you say I hit Sakura, there are no prepositions anywhere, this is completely direct. I do the hitting, and I'm hitting something, I'm hitting Sakura. I'm not hitting to Sakura or hitting at Sakura or hitting by Sakura. I'm directly hitting Sakura. Now, because of the directness of these two particles, they can't have a non-logical particle appended to them. So, if you want to use a non-logical particle here, you can do it. But the way you do it is always by simply attaching the non-logical particle and leaving the logical particle out. And because these are so fundamental to every sentence, they can be understood by the hearer in Japanese. So, if we say, Sakura wa nagutta, I hit Sakura. This means Sakura wa zero go nagutta. But we don't say Sakura wa go nagutta or Sakura go wa nagutta, because you can't put anything between these two direct, fundamental logical particles and the thing they directly connect to. So now we understand the basis for practically all the strange rules that you're going to hear about. You just need to remember these two facts. You can't pair one of these main 5 logical particles with any of the other 4, and you can't put a non-logical particle before or after the 2 primary particles ga and o. Now once we know that, what have we got left and how does it work? We can pair non-logical particles with any of the remaining logical particles. And the reason we're doing this is not to make some kind of weird, unusual pair combination. We're simply using the functions of both at the same time. So the most straightforward thing we do here is simply make something into a topic. If we say, Fuyu ni wa yukidaruma wo tsukuru, we're saying, in the winter, we make a snowman. Now, we could say, Fuyu ni yukidaruma wo tsukuru. We don't have to have the wa there. So why would we choose sometimes to have a wa there? Well, in this case, we're making it the topic of the sentence. We're saying, here's winter. Speaking of winter, this is what we do. And it also plays the other rules that wa always plays as an extension of its topic-making nature. And I've done a video on these multiple uses of wa, so if you're not familiar with this, please take a look at it because it's rather important for understanding what's going on here. So we're making a topic out of the winter, and we're also differentiating winter from other seasons. We're saying, Fuyu ni wa, as for winter, as opposed to the other seasons, we make a snowman. Now, if the person you were talking to was someone from a very, very cold place, they might say, Haru ni mo yukidaruma o tsukuru. So what they're saying is we make snowman in the spring as well. So we can use the exclusive particle wa or the inclusive particle mo. And both of them add that degree of meaning. Now why do we have the ni here? Because we actually need the ni. We need the ni to mark the fact that we're doing an activity at a particular time. This is the logical function of ni. But having done that, we can also make a topic out of it. And that's simply what we're doing here. In other cases, we might say, Ashita gakkou ni iku. And that simply means I'm going to school. If we say, Ashita gakkou ni wa iku, the implication is that we're going to school, but we're not going somewhere else that they thought we might be going. If we say, Ashita gakkou ni mo iku, we're saying, I'm going to school, as well as somewhere else that you already know about. So you see, in each of these cases, our non-logical particle is simply adding meaning to the logical particle that's already there. They don't clash, because one is logical and the other is non-logical. So they're not telling us conflicting information, they're telling us complementary information, and that's why you can use them that way, and why you can't combine one logical particle with another logical particle, or one non-logical particle with another non-logical particle. Now there are other particles that can pair with other particles, but again, this whole pairing concept is the wrong way of looking at it. As always, the particles are simply doing what they do. For example, the no particle, if it's the nominalizing no, the no that turns something into a noun. So, for example, oyogu no is swimming, the noun swimming, the activity called swimming. You can say oyogu no ga suki desu. We can say oyogu no o shimasu. You can combine any logical particle with no, because that kind of no turns the thing before it into what is effectively a noun, and a noun can take any of the logical particles. It could be a longer logical clause. Sakura to issho ni oyogu no ga suki da. I like swimming together with Sakura. But the point is that once you put that nominalizing no onto the end of it, when it's the no that turns something into a noun, you then treat it as a noun. And what do you do with a noun? You put a logical particle onto it, don't you? So this is simple logic. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below and I will answer as usual. I'd like to thank my gold Kokeshi patrons and all my patrons and supporters on Patreon and everywhere. And I'd like to thank you for attending this lesson. Korekara mo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Class dismissed.